Hello, I'm John McDonald here with Baja Bonsai, and we're going to show you a little bit of this wonderful plant, Dioscorea elephantipes. Dioscorea elephantipes is a plant that is native to South Africa. It's also known as the elephant's foot plant. It's because on these older plants you can see this kind of hard woody, what they call a caudex. That's where it stores its the extra water during the dry season, because in South Africa where these grow it can get to be very, very dry during certain parts of the year. We had a really good germination rate from the seeds that we obtained this year. These four, these 1, 2, 3, and this is the fourth one, were actually germinated in the same batch. The difference is that this plant germinated, probably after about 3 weeks. This is the last plant that germinated, and that was maybe just a couple of days ago. It's kind of interesting how these germinate, because what happens is, and maybe you can see it here, there's just a small, thin little black vine that kind of starts to grow up. And then after a few days, and you can see it right there, a leaf starts to form. Again, if we look here, you can see with this plant that the leaf gets a little bit bigger. And then finally, it starts to take on the appearance of what some of the more adult plants look like. These two plants are about 2 years old. They both have a slightly different caudex. The caudex actually starts submerged in the soil, and then as the plant grows and gets larger, it sometimes will start to emerge like these have done. And they've also been planted up a little bit higher, of something of interest as far as being an accent plant. Again, these do make really good accent plants. I really enjoy the color, that green, the light green color. Again, it has kind of a vine-like growth pattern that goes up. This vine can get huge, especially as the caudex gets bigger. The vine can get 2, 3, 4 feet long with all these different leaves. You more or less have to have, I put a little small trellis here, but you have to have a trellis for the leaves, unless you just want them to lie on the table or maybe just kind of drape over the table. They're an interesting plant to have around the house because in the winter they will lose their leaves, but they have just the caudex remaining. They take very little water, of course, in the winter. In the summer you can put them outside as long as it's not rained on too much. Because as with all succulent and cactus type varieties of plant, its feet don't like to have too much water, because then you'll have what they call rot, and then the plant will rot from inside. So you think everything's going well, all of a sudden the leaves start to look not so good, and then all of a sudden this woody caudex kind of breaks apart into flakes, and you realize that oops, you loved it maybe too much. You can love this, but just don't overwater it. You can find out a little bit more on the website here. You can go onto the Baja Bonsai website, look it up under the plant fact sheet. It'll give you a little more information. One interesting little fact about this plant is that it has separate male and female varieties of plant. So that means that on most plants you have a male and a female on the same plant, but on this plant it's separate. This is referred to as dioecious. So in other words, this is a dioecious plant, which is a little more uncommon in the plant world. Well, that kind of ends what I wanted to say here. Again, feel free to look up some of the other information on the Baja Bonsai and the website. And I thank you very much for joining me here for this little video.